This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
Hey there, this is Hosea Rosenberg, chef and owner of Black Belly and Santo in Boulder, Colorado. You are listening to Shawn Rosler and the Coarse Grind Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 125 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you as always this evening, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How's everyone doing this evening? You know, we here at the show got a lot of positive feedback after the last COVID panel that we did. And, you know, because of that, I really had to put another one together. I know that. You know, and if not one, probably more than one more together. Another handcrafted group came together way easier than it should, although Casey, you're going to be missed tonight. But thank you, guys, for coming together that easily. And so here we are on yet another Sunday evening. Are things better? Maybe. Curve flattening? Don't know. Hard to say. What I can say for certain is that there's much to be seen, much to be known in the culinary landscape. And once again, I, as host, am going to step the hell aside and let the experts, icons, and in some cases, many cases, on tonight's panel, legends do the heavy lifting that I am way not qualified to do. What I will do once again is play the layperson. You know, hopefully for folks listening, I'm going to ask and steer towards the questions that we, the dining public, are wondering about the industry so near and dear to our hearts. It will, as before, be a slightly somber one, to be sure. But I have to imagine there's still some light at the end of the tunnel, and these guys are just a small portion of the torchbearers. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guests this evening: Andrew Nebel of Turkey Hill Brewing, Steve Wright of Chatham Shellfish Company, Chef Jim Smith of Hummingbird Way, the newly opened Hummingbird Way, and the chairman of Alabama Seafood Marketing Commission, and the chef Neal Fraser of Redbird, Vibiana, Top Chef Masters, Beefsteak, and so very much more. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Doing well.
Excellent.
Likewise.
I'm so glad to hear it again. So glad that you guys could find the time. I will completely lean on my own sword here on air with the mics hot and say I screwed up scheduling this one because I forgot. I blame it on the COVID. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to blame everything on the COVID. That's where I'm going with it. So, folks who have been longtime listeners, this is going to be a little different than most episodes, a little different questions overall, but the format's still relatively going to be the same. We're going to look at the past, close-in past of what's been going on, the present landscape, and really what's to come. You know, what does everything look like once this all settles down? But before we do that, you know, I'd love to assume that everyone's listened to every episode that I've ever put out there, 125 in total, but I know that's not true. My mother hasn't even listened, so there is that. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is start off by going around the room and just letting everybody kind of bring listeners up to speed on who the hell you are and just what it is you do. So I'll start with my local fave here in the area, Mr. Andrew Nebel. Can you tell our co-panelists and the listeners at home just who you are and what you do?
Yeah, first off, thanks for putting this together, Shawn. And
always,
you know, days are just relative now. You know, Easter, what is it, Halloween? Who knows? So, you know, it all worked out. Got to eat, drink, and you know, now I got to talk to some impressive people here. So I'm happy to be on board, and you know, happy for you to have me on here. And as you said, I'm the general manager of Turkey Hill Brewing Company in the local hometown here, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And we are currently closed completely. We do have a 23-room inn and fine dining restaurant on our property. The fine dining restaurant's closed as well, but the inn is still open. We have a couple people that are, you know, waiting it out at the end, and there could be a lot worse places to be waiting out this, global crisis going on. So,
yeah.
Right now I have a restaurant of one, my fiance, that, I serve her three meals a day right now. And, it's just a lot of time to think and stuff. So,
yeah. No, for sure, man. And I'll throw it out right here to get you the awe vote in that your wedding was coming up, wasn't it?
Yes, May 30th.
So, yeah. Man, if you're ever going to get the pity vote on this show, man, now's the time.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, but we're 8 years in. She knows what she's getting into at this point. So.
Too true.
But yeah, thank you for, appreciate it. We moved it back to April 17th here in 2021, so.
Right.
But it was good. It really was, being in a small town here and kind of working in the industry and knowing the people and stuff that we were dealing with was real easy to get transferred over. And I know across the board, I know venues and caterers and everyone has been working their arses off to make sure that they can accommodate. Because, tell you what, 2021 is going to be a hell of a year for weddings. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. That's going to be the whole, exponential doubling volume, man. Well, thanks for coming back, brother.
Yep.
I appreciate it as always. And as I'm tugging on the Barn Dance Blonde, man, I couldn't think of a better brewery sponsor for the show, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, you let me know when you need more. I'll put some eggs out back there again.
Absolutely. Yeah, you fill the eggs with it. I love it. I love the concept. Let's kick it over to Chef Jim Smith. Chef Jim Smith, my buddy from back in the day, Top Chef, first episode. I want to say you were in the mid-50s or something, and now here we are back 125. It's been a while. How have you been, sir? Give everybody an idea of just what you've been up to.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be back on with you again, and I have been keeping up a little bit with your podcast. I haven't caught all 500 of them like you have posted now, but it's really a pleasure to be back on. For me, I'm still the chairman of the Alabama Seafood Marketing Commission, which is, the seafood industry is something we all need to be thinking about right now, really, any type of agricultural industry. But I have just opened a restaurant. I opened January 7th, and I'm currently sitting in an empty restaurant now. It was an awesome 2 months before everything, a global pandemic hit us. But I am ever optimistic about the future of this restaurant and the future of restaurants in general. Really, for the past month and a half or so, the only people who have been in the restaurant have been me and my wife, and we have been doing all the curbside delivery by ourselves and really busting it to make sure that we can, afford to keep the power on and the gas running. So, but yeah, I'm excited and optimistic about it, and it's great to open the restaurant that I've always wanted to open. It's just maybe the worst time imaginable, but I'm here and doing well and working hard.
Yep. Absolutely. We have, I for one have no doubt that Jim Smith would be working hard, and that's a kick to the stones to open in January. On the last panel, again, one of our locals, and Nebel, you'll know Gary Vatican, he was supposed to be open where Filet 18 was, this month.
Yep.
And that's a no-go. So, it's just, it's so tough to hear stories like that with people who have just opened and with people who are pending opening. So, again, Jim, I appreciate the optimism, and, I, for one, I'm going to hold that with you. Speaking of seafood, then, let's kick it over to Captain Steve, Stephen Wright of Chatham Shellfish Company. Who are you? What do you do, buddy?
All right. Thanks for having me on, Sean. Stephen Wright, I co-own and manage Chatham Shellfish Company. We're primarily an oyster farm and interstate shellfish shipper for our oysters. We also deal in mussels. We've been at it since 1976. Been on the farm for 20 years. And, our business supplying wholesalers outside of Boston and a lot of local restaurants on Cape Cod went from 100 to 0 overnight.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to focus on some retail avenues where we can get our product into the hands of people at home so that they can continue to enjoy the seafood that they've been accustomed to at the restaurants that they go to.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And for folks interested in that storyline and like the namesake foods concept, go back literally one episode. I just had Steve on for kind of a special breaking news episode with the packages you guys are doing. And, again, the Chatham oyster to me, and Jim, you're going to keep me in check here, I'm sure, but to me, the Chatham oyster has no peer whatsoever. It is truly the best oyster in the world. But I'd love for you to prove me wrong, Jim. I'm not going to lie. It's so good.
I'll put him up against any oyster in the country.
Ooh. Oh, shit. It's a fight. It's a schoolyard fight.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And finally, last but goddamn far from least, Chef Neal Fraser, an honor, episode number 30 originally, and here you are again, taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us, and I can't appreciate it enough. Can you let the listeners know, they should know this already, but anyway, who you are and what you've been up to?
Sure, I'm chef and owner of Redbird in Vibiana in downtown Los Angeles, and we've been open for 5 years, and we went from, having a very viable business to having a business that was out of business for about one day, and then we got the opportunity to partner with LA Family Housing literally one day after kind of closing up shop, and we've been doing 1,300 meals a day for LA Family Housing, which is sheltered homeless.
That's awesome.
In Los Angeles area. We're also doing food for doctors and nurses and a couple hospitals, and we've also started doing a pickup service, which has kind of kept the majority of my sous chefs employed, and we unfortunately had to lay off about 200 employees. We've kept 10 employed, and we're kind of, I've always in the mindset, the reason I became a chef is because I wanted to learn a trade.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to have something to, kind of fall back upon, which was, kind of my joke when I first started cooking was always being in the front of the soup line. And I hope we don't get to that, but I really feel like I've learned a trade that is very viable and tradable right now.
Yeah.
Cooking and good food and, not stewing beans and rice. I mean, the smiles on people's faces when they eat, roasted Brussels sprouts and they're done right now is a revelation.
Yeah.
We did roasted chicken with, Anson Mills grits this week, and I personally took it home twice and ate it for dinner, and it just felt sated. And I think that in a time of need, what you really need to feel is a certain amount of balance. And I think when you put good food in your mouth, you chew it and you swallow it, you kind of, you get that moment where you're kind of, brought back to why you're on this earth. And, it's to enjoy life, and I'm glad that I can be part of something that, even in times of real sorrow, that people can still, find a little bit of appreciation and a little bit of solace out of.
Yeah, and Neal, I'm going to go on record. There's a lot of quotes that I've remembered over my years of episodes, but honestly, one of your quotes is easily my top 3, if not my number 1. You gave me the quote, and I have it written on my desk by my work computer. It's not if I'm going to be disappointed, it's when I'm going to be disappointed. And I have held that for, this is going on now 4 years since last we talked. And that mindset that you presented there, it just speaks to that. And so kind of as a transition to the next question, obviously when we heard this was happening, there had to have been a reaction. There had to have been an oh shit moment, especially for, those experienced in the restaurant industry like the 4 of you are. So I'll keep it here with you, Neal. When was, if we're to just be very basic about it, when was your oh shit moment that you realized, like, this wasn't just going to be a passing thing, this was going to hit you hard? Do you remember when that was that you felt that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was gifted a hunt, pig hunt up in on Hearst Ranch up in Central California. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to invite a couple friends, including my chef de cuisine, Jason Bolin, up to a pig hunt, and we were hunting pigs on this 47,000 acre piece of land. And Monday morning I was hunting with my friend Jet, and the stock market started to fucking drop, and it was a real moment of like being in absolute solace and realizing that when I was going to go drive back to Los Angeles, 24 hours later, that it was going to be a different place.
Yeah.
And that was the moment. I was literally, kind of enjoying nature in the most pristine idea of you can understand nature, and having to realize that was a moment in time that we were going to have to go back and deal with the reality of that. And I've always been a fighter, and I've always, I have a lot of friends, on the internet. They're always captain of the pity party, and I never want to be captain of the pity party. I never want to be pitied. I never want to get PR off of bad situations. I always want to be just a provider and holder of something that I feel is important in our society. And, if we have to go back to, filling boxes for homeless people or starting a soup kitchen, that's why I got involved in learning a trade.
I love it.
And obviously I'm, fortunate enough to, cook for lots of, important people, but it's really about, whatever it is, if it's a bowl of rice and that's all it is, and it's beautifully prepared rice, or if it's, filet mignon with a piece of foie gras on top, I think it's the same idea. We're cooking for homeless right now. We're trying to, we're hammering our suppliers just as much as it would be for Dover Sole as we are for $1 a pound chicken, because, like I said to the person we're working with, when these people become unhomeless, the first thing I want them to do when they save up money is come to eat at Redbird.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's why I want to have that celebration of life.
Yep.
It's like we're all just, we're only as good as we make ourselves. And, I think at a certain point, the idea of the family meal, in somebody's home is kind of lost. And I feel, that's the most important thing, is like that feeling of like, breaking into a chicken and, carving it up and serving it to your family. There's something that's very grounding in that. And I think in times where you really like everything you're seeing is a complete juxtaposition of what you saw 10 seconds before that.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of great answers, but when you sit down and break bread and celebrate that moment, and then the next day is another moment, you have to wake up the next morning and crawl out of the cave,
Got to do it all over again.
What's it going to bring?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. And, you brought up a really important point. And again, acting as the emissary of the dining public. For me, it's not missing a taste or a flavor or something. It's missing the experience right now. And so, to your point, Neal, those folks who are out of work will return to dining if they are allowed to. And so it's almost like the symbiotic relationship where if you take care of them now, they'll take care of you later. If you take care of us now, we'll take care of you later. And I mean, I for one, Nebel, I'll toss it over to you. I can't wait to get back into Turkey Hill, man. It's not that I've ever not wanted to go. You're literally a quarter of a mile away from our front door. But, there's certainly a much deeper longing. So from the local angle, Nebel, when was it that Turkey Hill knew shit was going south?
I think for myself and the owner, his name Andrew as well, I think in with our head chef, I think it was kind of that Friday, before, whatever the Friday the 13th, oddly enough,
Yeah.
that it was, I think in going to, do our order for Monday, then the, food order and stuff, and, kind of planning out the next week, is that realization that looking at the weekend was not going to be a normal, several hundred person weekend, or, and that uncertainty of what was going to happen, but, kind of having that gut feeling that it was going in a particular direction as stuff was moving very, events were moving very, very quickly, and I think that, we had the tough realization really when we decided to close down was that Monday, when the governor of Pennsylvania sent the order out of the non-essential businesses, but, being a brewery, we were allowed to continue. But it was, it was not something I ever thought that I would really, have that feeling of uncertainty in such a, certain situation that we have at the Turkey Hill here, that, in the small community of all of a sudden it being taken away, and I think, the first thought that we went to was, well, how do we take care of our staff, and, how do we make sure that everybody is okay? Because, you just, with everyone, you just turned everything off overnight. I mean, and we discussed extensively on the takeout, avenue and curbside of it, but we have a, unique kind of staffing that with having the property incorporate a hotel and another restaurant, we just fall and have too many employees kind of, for it to kind of be worthwhile that the owner decided that, instead of making a decision on who got to stay and who got to go, he just, we did it a blanket that would be able to take care of everybody, as much as he possibly could here. So,
nice.
It's been rough. Yeah. But, like Chef Neal said, too, I mean, we're not trying to play the pity party with it either. I mean, I think that, we're resilient. We know that the community here is resilient. We've been around here. I mean, should be celebrating our 9th anniversary here next Monday, but, we'll have to hold off on that till hopefully May. But, I do think that, as you said, I mean, the experience and the comfort that comes with the familiarity of might not be, just the food or the beer, but, just seeing the people. I mean, and the experience, and that's, why we did our beer Easter weekend beer sale this weekend was, we just wanted to see you guys, to be honest. We wanted to see our regulars and, the community here. And, we've been doing, things behind the scenes and taking care of our staff. And, we gave, made sure those guys could come in and got them all perishable, got them all of our perishable stuff and even non-perishable stuff. And, just wanted to make sure that everyone was taken care of. And,
nice.
I think that, again, resilient community, and I think the food industry will be resilient, coming out of this. I know we're looking at different changes, in the background of how we can evolve, and see what kind of environment we're going to enter back into here. So,
yeah, I think that's
just a work in progress like everyone else.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the big, that asterisk over reopening, that portion of it that remains to be seen, I think is such an unknown at this point. And, but again, like, everybody comes with a unique experience, but everybody can definitely connect on this. And, Nebel, I'm going to blow up your spot for a minute. So Andrew texted me before we went on, and he's like, dude, I feel like I'm swimming out of my lane here. Like, I'm the manager of the house, I'm punching way out of my weight class. And I'm like, dude, listen to me. If you haven't listened to all 124 episodes before this one, everybody's sharing the same shit right now. Everybody's going through it. And, Steve, I know we just got off the air. It wouldn't be last episode. I haven't even put up 124 yet. But it would have been the episode before that. I know, even for, I say even for shellfish, but, really for shellfish, for your market, this has given you a big hit. So when was it that you realized this was going to be more than just a moment in time?
Really when I've been keeping an eye on the news prior to, really what, I guess you would call a shutdown across the board. And I was trying to be in touch with my wholesalers and some of the restaurants about, what they perceive to be going on. And really the moment that struck me was that when we were hard of oysters, working on the tide, and then I started getting calls from some of my dealers saying that they were going to have to return product because the governor essentially closed all the restaurants in the state.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other major markets in the country were shut down as a result. It's not the first closure that we've been through. We've had, just in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, occasional red tide, things like that. We've, endured 3-4 weeks, things like that.
But like red tide comes and goes, right, Steve? Like red tide comes and goes. And this is far longer than that, right?
Yeah, this is gonna be a stretch. This is gonna put our summer season on Cape Cod in jeopardy as to how the restaurants and inns are able to operate with that tourist economy in mind. So, there's a lot of things up in the air right now in that regard. We can't really project what's going to happen. But I think what we want to do is remind people that, oysters and shellfish in general are very nutritious.
Yep.
We can easily accommodate shipping, and that people don't really need to be that savvy in opening an oyster. They can prepare oysters in different ways,
yep.
Step outside of the box, and come up with new ways to teach themselves how to cook.
Yeah.
With conventional ingredients that come from the sea or the land.
Yep.
And I think that would help in their local food economies.
Yep, for sure, man. And, again, in the market of segues here, from Chatham Shellfish Company over to Jim, the chairman of the Shellfish Board. Jim, when was it that you saw that this was going to hit and hit hard? I mean, obviously, you just opening a restaurant, I'm sure your radar was up and at the ready.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I may have been a little bit more prepared than a lot of other people because my wife her hometown city is Wuhan, China, and my in-laws still live there. And so I sort of knew that there was this massive lockdown happening over there, and it had been going on for a long time. One thing that I'm super optimistic about is, Wuhan has recently opened back up, and the word that my in-laws are saying is that people have been cooped up for so long, they're just ready to go out and spend their money at any restaurant, bar, and so I'm hoping that, once we make it through this, that there is some positivity at the end of the tunnel. But, for me, I had an idea in advance, and I spent a long time really doing things like buying meats that I knew I could freeze. Like, I still have probably 40 pounds of shrimp in the freezer upstairs. Things that, I broke down a bunch of meats and cryovac them individually and froze them. Sort of things that I knew that I could do where I could still serve what I want to serve, but be in a position where I'm not going to have to throw away a bunch of food because I didn't manage things properly.
Right.
But I think that, different parts of the country are experiencing this in different ways, and Alabama and large portions of the South are, as usual, behind the curve. We're expecting, the next 2 weeks for us to be the biggest pop locally for people who are becoming infected. So, we're just trying to do our best. We were, so much of the city where I live in, most of the restaurants are closed. A few of them are doing curbside deliveries. I have a friend of mine who I saw going on a big push saying, come and buy groceries from our restaurants, and nice. I do think that this has fostered some creativity amongst chefs and restaurateurs to be creative and finding ways to get product to people. I mean, especially if your grocery store is out of chicken and you still have a food truck that's making drop-offs at your restaurant, there's no reason why you can't offer those products to the people who need them in your community.
Yep.
So, for me, it happened all fast, but for me, it still feels more like the beginning of it, really.
Yeah.
And so we're just doing our best to be as smart as possible.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And, I mean, they're like you said, Jim, the opportunities are all around you. And if you go back to episode 124, episode right before this, I just had Chef Hosea Rosenberg from Black Belly out in Colorado, and he actually just opened another one inspired by his New Mexican upbringing, Santo. And so they've changed their model, not completely, but almost completely, whereas, they're focusing on the butcher store front of Black Belly. They're focusing on the curbside of the Santo. And so I think, to your point, Jim, you've got to just change the way that you approach these. Like, folks, these people are still here. I've got Turkey Hill here in the area doing crowlers, doing growlers. When they offer this, take them up on it. And, Chef Neal's, giving, doing all these things, the opportunities are there, I think. If I'm to profess one point at this juncture of the interview, it's that, like, look, the opportunities are still there. Please go out and take advantage of them. It doesn't have to be as deliberate as a gift card. Like, a lot of people are still doing curbside, doing pickup. Take advantage of it, because it's going to be what gets these folks through. So, with the oh shit moment in mind, if we're to be so, freeform and call it that, and I'll keep it here with you, Jim, because, again, having that kind of pre-knowledge maybe before the rest of us. I have to imagine you've got maybe a good idea of how bad's it going to get before it gets better. Like what do you see happening from here?
Well, I mean, that's really a tough one. I do sort of think that, and especially where I live, it seems like people aren't taking the quarantine procedures seriously enough. I mean, that may be good. That's probably good for my curbside delivery business in the short term, but it's really worse for the long term security of the restaurant. I do wish that people would take it more seriously, stay in their house as much as possible, but then just still do what they need to do to support local businesses. So, it's a weird balance to strike, but I think that, I am kind of worried that the federal government will rush to open things up before they should,
right,
which may make it worse as opposed to better. So, it's just, I don't know. I believe Wuhan, where my wife is from, I mean, they're well over a 3-month lockdown, and the Chinese government is way more serious about making sure people don't leave their houses, and way more serious on, if you're getting deliveries, groceries or food delivered to your apartment in Wuhan, you have that ability to look at the thermometer readings of the person who is dropping off your food, and all people who are working in kitchens have to take their temperature and write them on their tickets as they go out the door. And so I think that we're approaching this with kind of a laissez-faire kind of attitude.
Yeah. No, I think that's not that's not an uncommon position, from our side. At least those of us thinking about it a little more conservatively. The fact of the matter is, I don't know that we're all taking it as seriously as we could. Let me kick it over to Neal. Neal, what do you think? Where is this going to go before it turns back to? I hesitate from saying normal because maybe normal's not what we get back to. But is there a close to normal that we return to?
I have no idea. I think it's. I told you I'd be lying. I mean, I'm kind of battling between, trying to battle full steam ahead and social distance. As you may or may not know, California, and especially Los Angeles, was one of the first cities in the United States to kind of lock it down. Yeah. And those were very hard words to kind of stomach, and I felt really betrayed by, my governor and my mayor because we were forced to do so. And, the more you read into everything, it's kind of, FIFO, first in, first out.
Yep.
I feel that we're setting ourselves up for success, and as much as I want to get the Band-Aid off, I want to leave the Band-Aid on until the wound is healed. And,
sure.
We had about, maybe $2 million worth of business that's postponed. So it's a matter of figuring out how to take a lot of our events, some of those big events, and figure out dates that are, serviceable for those people, whether it's this year or next year. Yeah. Obviously the revenue of the restaurant, we had to lay off about 200 employees, and all those employees are furloughed, so we're still paying their health insurance. And so we're trying to, generate enough revenue so we're, keep as much money in the bank as we possibly can, but also not get people sick.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do, just like, Mozza, Nancy Silverton was running full steam, and she came down with coronavirus.
Yeah.
So it's real. It's there. It's not a made up, politicized, Democratic, Republican, international scam.
No.
It's an actual virus that can affect you very seriously. And, I feel immortal because I'm 51 years old and I exercise and I don't smoke cigarettes and I'm not obese. But who knows,
Yeah.
And to a certain point, how do you kind of, coddle your business and also put your foot on the accelerator without killing people? Because the last thing I want to do is, be a successful entrepreneur and kill half my staff. That's,
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Oh,
so how
exactly.
do we, how do we continue to, to be smart? And, we're fortunate that we have we have 3.5 acres of property. We have 3 pretty large kitchens. We have great ventilation. We've been able to do, 1,300 meals a day for the last 3 weeks with only 4 people in the kitchen. Everybody is very spaced out. You know, we're wearing masks, we're wearing gloves. We're being smart. We're not, you know, asses to elbows, you know, regular restaurant style, as all of us know.
Yep.
We're trying to practice, you know, the best of our ability, you know, social distancing. And that's always hard. It's like, how do you taste food and wear a mask? You know, it's like, you don't, you know. You take that mask off, you taste food, you put it back on. It's like, you touch your face, like, you know, it's like, you know, a couple of years ago, the city of LA decided, the county of Los Angeles decided that all cooks had to wear gloves in the kitchen. And I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever, because what happens when you touch a hot pan? You have a fucking rubber glove on your hand.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
You know, you're not talking about a minor burn. You're talking about a major burn. And, you know, at a certain point, like, they passed some legislation locally that, you know, we have to give everybody the ability to wash their hands every 4 hours in Los Angeles. This is not the health department. This is the city council of Los Angeles.
City
and I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing ever. It's like, yeah, every 20 minutes I want you to wash your hands, not every 4 hours.
Exactly. And
you
that
know,
just shows where they don't get it.
We practice all the time. It's like, are things we do, and like the idea that we have to wear masks, or wear gloves, or clean ourselves, or it's like all those things are great. Like the fact that we're kind of, you know, having to go back to like, you know, 101 basic, you know, culinary school day one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like don't wipe your ass and then, you know, pick up a piece of food and put it on a plate. You know, it's like, you know, it seems really ridiculous, but it's a really, you know, like I say, you know, this is a really great fire drill when something is a lot more contagious. You know, this thing is going to end out, once we test, it's going to be 1.5%, 1%, 5%. What else we come up with something at 3% or 5% or 10%?
Yep.
And we have, you know, we're not talking about trailers full of dead bodies. We're talking about arenas full of dead bodies. How do we feel about it now?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's a great fire drill. It's a great time to wake up and say, you know what, this is not a foodborne illness. You know, as much as we say we want to wash our containers and do all that stuff, this is not a foodborne illness.
No.
This is a contagion.
Exactly.
You know, and we're trying to do the best we can, and we are, and it's a great reiteration of something I say every day. You know, wash your hands, we're clean, rotate a product, temperature stuff.
Yep.
You know, we have a thermometer in our walk-in that takes the temperature and, you know, puts it onto our computer every day. So, so it's all good for our HACCP procedures. What is it? What are the basics that like seem so, you know, like you only do in the USC facility that we have to automatically? It's like shellfish. You know, shellfish has been something that it doesn't. You know, like they always say, like, you know, you got to keep your tags and all this stuff about shellfish. Shellfish doesn't kill one person; it'll kill a community of people, and that's why it's regulated. You know, that's why you keep your tags. That's why we deal with all this stuff. Like, it's so regulated to the point that it doesn't happen.
Yep.
You know, I can't tell you one time in the United States where 100 people died from eating oysters.
Exactly.
It just doesn't happen. It's regulated. They know exactly. They have a HACCP procedure for when that oyster is pulled out of the ocean until it goes into somebody's mouth. And that's what we need for food.
Yep.
You know.
No, you're right.
And the fact that, you know, a box of mixed grains is $10, maybe it needs to be $20 because we need to pay that employee more. We need to have a better procedure. It has to be cleaned right. It has to be, we have to use RO water. It's got to be, you know, it's like, you know, like they say, like, you know, I'm blowing the statistic, but like 40 or 50% of all the produce, you know, grown in India, it rots before it hits market.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really terrible HACCP procedure. So how do we kind of increase all the security into this pandemic in order to feel, not only make people feel better and feel more secure, but actually be more secure?
Yeah.
Like we can talk shop all day and say, you know, my car is faster than your car, but how do I make my car faster than your car? How do I invest in the technology in order to make my Ford Fiat the fastest car on the road? You know, through technology, through working with other people, through systems, all those things, I think, are the underlying ingredient of us creating a better sourcing that, you know, that we can lead by example, not just, you know, we're reacting right now. You know, it's like you say in PR, you know, there's proactive and reactive PR.
Yep. We're
proactive PR right now.
Yep.
This thing came out of somewhere else. It came into our community. You know, some people say it hit Los Angeles as early as December.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm 99% sure I got coronavirus on my birthday, which was the end of January.
Yeah.
But there's no testing.
No. Unless
it's like, what do you do with all that stuff?
Your net worth income is like $5 million or higher, and I don't know. There's a bunch of, you know, rationale by the
it's funny. I called a friend of the Clippers the other day. You know, because it seemed like all the professional basketball teams were the ones that were getting hit, you know, the first. Like they were kind of, you know, obviously baseball and football were not in season.
Yeah.
And they were testing whole teams. It seemed like in February. And they were like, I have no idea where the tests are coming from. It's like, that's just a bad answer.
Yep.
No,
for sure, man.
The good answer is like, this is how we're testing. This is, how do you build a community amongst chefs? I mean, all of the people on this call right now from all over the country, how do we build a coalition so we all feel like we're supporting each other? It's not like he said, she said kind of thing. It's like, these are the best resources. Like the James Beard Foundation, I got to say,
yes,
for an organization that I feel has been kind of focused on fine dining, I feel has really been, a mouthpiece in the forefront for the whole community as a whole. And
they stepped way the hell up. Absolutely.
And I think that at a certain point, like, that's all we've tried to be is like, it's hard though, because you're fighting for other people's business. So it's like, if we get a FEMA contract, my next door neighbor doesn't, and that, all this PPP stuff is so confusing.
Yeah.
How do I stay alive?
Yeah.
It's like a game of musical chairs.
Yeah, I mean, it really does get back to that question, though, Neal. It gets back to how do you figuratively and literally by process there stay alive? I mean, that's at the end of the day, I think that's what everyone's trying to figure out now. Whether you are a restaurateur, whether you are waitstaff, whether you are nurse, doctor, trash man, lunch lady, teacher, whatever. I think everyone's trying to figure that out at this point.
But it's like all the people that are like you hear about, I'm sure, the oyster farms, the dairy farms, the egg growers. You think about making meringue. How many people are making meringue at home right now? I'm going to say nobody.
Yeah.
How many people are making madeleines at home? Or it's like all these things and all these you think how many eggs do you need to make a macaron? It's like a lot.
Yeah.
How many people are making macarons at home right now? Let's say 0. And all that product that's been in the supply chain that we're usually ready for, all the heritage stuff. It's like, it's all just kind of getting pushed in the commodity market. I mean, I was pushed a statistic the other day, through the homeless meals we're doing. We kind of given ourselves a budget of $1.40 a pound or less for protein. And you can buy pork shoulders right now for 70 cents.
Right now.
And when this whole thing calamity started, they were, $2.40 a pound. That's a huge difference.
That is a huge difference.
I mean, never ever beef and, commodity beef, hot weight, killed weight off of, slaughterhouses. It's like 25 cents a pound difference.
Yep.
You're talking about 4 times the cost. It's like, that's a crazy amount of money on a commodity market.
I've been amazed, honestly, just me, the layperson at home, where, we're going out maybe once a week. We've got 3 kids. So, I mean, they eat like fucking horses, to begin with. And, so we go out and to your point, Neal, honestly, I have made 2, about 3 to 4 pound batches of pork jerky in the past, maybe 3 weeks, simply because it's on ridiculous sale. I forget what it was here local in Weiss, Neville. It was like $1.49 a pound. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
It was $1.49 and chicken wings.
Yeah, oh my God! Chicken wings were like dirt.
All the chicken wings in the grocery stores right now.
So literally,
I'm doing chicken thighs right now for 99 cents a pound. Yeah.
Oh my God! So I have to strut a little bit, and Neal, Jim, I mean, hell, Steve Nebel, I hope you appreciate this too. So I got this pork, right, and it had the $2 off coupon, aka buy it now or you're getting trichinosis. So I bought it, and I instantly brought it home and started to work with it. And I took off all the skin, and I made cracklins, just oven cracklins too, nothing complex. But I woke up this morning, and my wife has always turned her nose up at pork rinds and cracklins, and all of a sudden she's hunched over the cupboard when I come out. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? It's 8:30, and she's crunching them, and like half of them are gone. I'm like, wait a minute, did I just break the code? So like it's all there, and I almost feel like, Neal, we're getting a little survivalistic. Like, oh my God, I better use everything that's in this. Like right now, our Easter ham, I trimmed off the bone. I'm making ham stock right now, just because.
Yeah.
What are we gonna need?
Because you should.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go up and tell my wife that Chef Neal Fraser told me I should be doing that because she questioned it, and I'm like, no, I think I'm in the right. So now I know I'm in the right. Damn it.
And take all that ham stock and make beans with it. I mean, that's a winner right there.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Steve, let's chip it over to you, man. In your market, and I know Neal was alluding to, the shellfish market, and eggs and everything like that. Like, it's an ingredient that goes, it's a main. What's it going to look like for you? Like, where is this going to go? Where is the bleeding going to stop, hopefully?
Well, just seafood in general takes a back seat to other proteins at the home dinner table. So a lot of the fishery products are being used in restaurants that are currently closed. So I think it's going to take a lot of marketing by seafood companies and distributors to get these fish into homes, people that are home cooking. And for us, the takeout restaurant thing isn't really, they're not going to produce a raw half shell takeout.
You don't pull up to a drive-through window and get 12 shucked, right?
Although I had a customer call me and they said, we got 400 oysters we have to use. And so I was spitballing with them. I was like, we'll make an oyster stew or make oyster ravioli. And it's just, a matter of creativity and promotion that's going to sell those items, whether you have them in your kitchen or in your coolers, or whether you're thinking about ordering these things in the future, if this is going to be a semi-new reality for some time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hoping that, we're going to continue to market to consumers on the home level and see where that goes. And hopefully we can salvage our season.
Nice. And I know for one, man, I had to talk with Gret. She's on board, so I'll be reaching out to get the step-by-step on how to get some Chathams delivered here. That'll be fantastic.
We've got Little Necks in the mix this week, as well as mussels.
Beautiful. Nebel, Andrew, and again, I think I wince more when I ask the local figure that I have on the call this question because, honestly, out of self-preservation, it's going to impact me. Like, this is our place. This is where we go. This is where we bring our kids. What's it going to look like? What do you think?
I think that, keep reiterating the same sentiments that the others are passing along. I mean, I think I'd be sitting here lying if I said that I knew.
Right.
But that's also why I got into this industry, because I enjoy the sense of excitement each night that it brings of not knowing. So I think it's just, a matter of, as you guys as well as you've been saying, is not necessarily reinventing, but more or less, being proactive and trying to progress to see what we can make the landscape look like, rather than sitting back and letting it dictate what it has to look like, locally here, in our small community, I mean, there's obviously some of these you guys are much larger areas you guys are in. I think that a nice thing that we've noticed, especially around here, is this has highlighted, some of the local farms that we use as purveyors, but the normal, consumer might not use them on a regular basis, and they've become a viable option to go to.
Yep.
Which has been good, for those guys. Looking particularly at like us, I mean, we seat like 150 people. We're probably, max can be able to seat 75, 80 for several months when this is all over. And on top of that, I mean, are people going to immediately want to be rushed into crowded restaurants and that, so, just again for ourselves looking at, do we come up with there's another restaurant, do you come up with a takeout menu, that offers certain things, or more do it your own home, that sort of stuff that's been, going around that's been very helpful. And,
yep.
I think it's just going to be an ever, evolving landscape here for a while.
Yeah. And I mean, in time, does it come back to the, what we want to believe is normal? I'd like to think so. But, until it does, we just kind of have to stay the course. So, interesting. So I know we're coming up on the hour, and again, I know all you folks are busy, all in your own respective ways. So, I feel like we as a dining public, we as the lay people have a good idea, a better idea maybe before we started the call as far as what the landscape looks like. Kind of to wrap things up, I kind of want to ask a bit more of a lighthearted question and see what your answer to it is. So I'll actually start with you, Nebel. What's going to be your first reservation or dining out once this whole thing lifts? Pretend everything goes back to normal. Where are you headed first?
Where am I going first? Well, I'm going to go back to work first is what I'm going to do. Cause more than anything else, I want to get back into our brewery and just go back to work on a Friday and Saturday night and see 700 people walk through the door on a Saturday night. That's nice. That's first and foremost. I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to the most is just getting back to our place, and getting back to some level of, I don't want to say new normal because, I like you said, I believe that the more we do less, the faster we'll get back to doing more. So, yep. I think that, that's where I want to go is just back to Turkey Hill and, get back up there and get, moving in the kitchen again and, get the nice kitchen voice going and, just hear everything going. I've been sending my staff YouTube links to kitchen printer noises and ambient restaurant noise and breaking glasses and silverware and that kind of shit. So, I think just, we just want to get back. That's what we want to do. I mean, other than that, luckily a lot of our local restaurants that I, love, Blind Pig and Route 11 and some of these guys, they're awesomely still doing, curbside service. So, we're one of the only ones that isn't doing a whole lot with it, but, we've done some stuff in the background. So I think mainly I just want to get back to Turkey Hill, dude. That's what I'm looking forward to now.
Awesome. Hey, Jim, where do you want to, and I know you want to get back to Hummingbird Way, so we'll give you a given that Hummingbird Way is going to be your first place out, but where is it you want to go out to eat? First place you can go.
I might take a road trip over to New Orleans. We're really close to New Orleans, and I might just do a nice drive around New Orleans. Once it's safe to get back out in the public and eat, that would be an awesome experience. Hey, I do want to say something serious too, real quick before we end all this. I do want to echo Neal's point about the James Beard Foundation. Is that people who are listening to this podcast and like me, doing it. The fund that they use to give money to people, to restaurateurs like myself, they were done. They were closed in like 20 minutes. They got 4,000 applications in the first couple of hours, and all of it was done on a first come first served basis. I know they're continuing to raise money, and it's very easy to donate money to the James Beard Foundation, and it's one organization that I know you can trust. 100% of those monies go directly to small restaurants like me and like restaurants all across the country. And so if your listeners have a chance and really want to do something to support a great organization, really, the James Beard Foundation is the place to start.
Nice. Very appreciated, and very much agree. Like I think if you look in the forefront of who's really been outspoken about this, outside of Colicchio, who is always, I adore that dude, so much. He's been very vocal about the foundation's, support of the entire situation. So just kudos, hats off again, James Beard Foundation. Check them out if you haven't already. Neal, how about you? Outside of Redbird, Vibiana, where are you fiending for at this point?
I mean, the first thing I want to do is, really welcome our staff back and,
yes,
restaurant without our staff is not really a restaurant. And obviously our customer is a big part of that. But I think the thing I miss the most is sushi. I mean,
Nice.
I love Japanese food, and there's a place not far from my house in Pasadena called Sushi Enya that I really have taken a liking to, and just really getting, sitting down in front of the guy who runs the place, sitting down and really slowly embracing a long omakase dinner of sushi and sake and beer, and just kind of I love.
Again, it's more about the experience than the content itself. I have told the story probably ad nauseum, and you four are unfortunately going to experience this. For my wife's 23rd birthday, we got a town car from Danville, Pennsylvania to Philadelphia on Chestnut Street to Morimoto, back when it was first really kind of opening up, and I had called, being an Iron Chef Japan fan, and asked if Morimoto would be there that night. Oh no, he's busy, he's on the road. I'm fine, we'll take the trip anyway. And I got the call earlier in the day, Morimoto's going to be there, and Neal, they sat us up at the bar, and Morimoto was across the bar from us and prepared all 12 courses of our omakase. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
just and honestly, can I tell you a thing he made? Not so much, but the proximity to the man and watching the mastery, like it's culinary theater. Absolutely. So, Sushi Enya, if you're in Pasadena, it sounds ridiculous.
Pretty special. Yeah.
Awesome. And Steve, how about you, buddy?
Oh, well, some of my restaurant experiences, I think, are best delivering oysters through the back door to the restaurant, getting them in the cooler. And a lot of times I like to call on the chef to whip something up for me,
Nice.
especially if it's after a long day on the farm and it's about 4:30 in the afternoon and I get a text from him saying, "Where are my oysters?" And I say, "It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a cheeseburger or something.
It's going to cost you dinner,
so
buddy.
I'll use a little bit of leverage on that to bring
Absolutely.
something home. So,
Absolutely.
like everybody else, we want to get back to work. We want all our customers and patrons to enjoy the fruits of our labor and everything that we produce,
Fantastic.
and also sharing in that also when we go in and dine at our
Awesome.
favorite establishments. So I just also wanted to say that the shipments that we're doing this week and the past couple of weeks, a portion of the proceeds are going to the Greg Hale Foundation Restaurant Strong Fund, based out of Boston, and they've opened up that fund to additional locations in the country, and then also the Restaurant Community Workers Foundation.
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
anybody who
that.
wants some fresh shellfish will be doing that this week as well.
That's where to do it for sure. And last question, just a couple words for us, the dining public. I'll just kind of give you the mic. I'll start with you, Andrew. To the dining public, who misses you, who wants to help you, what do you want us to know, and what can we do to help you?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I think, as reiterated with the James Beard and, how difficult it has been. I mean, I've been sending out input of staff to all these different foundations and myself as well that, trying to get them on board, but it's so hard to get the funding. I mean, it's gone, like you said, in, a couple minutes, and, the sites are down. So, locally here, there's one that's kind of being developed that has gotten some traction, the Susquehanna Valley Community Project. And what they're doing is they're teaming up with local restaurants, doing some giveaways and just looking for some funding. And then what they're going to do is distribute that funding out to, different restaurants and particularly, I mean, where we live, it's small business around here. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, we're the 10th largest business in this area. So, there's not a whole lot of massive stuff, massive organizations or, huge amounts of funding coming in here. So I think, biggest thing I can say is, Susquehanna Community Project, keep going to the James Beard, Foundation, and just, look at some other ones, as you can. And most importantly, when we open up our doors back up, we just, we're going to do everything we can, whether it's extending hours or changing the way we do things, to just try to get, as many people safely into the door as we can. So,
Awesome.
just please, when this all comes back out, we just look forward to seeing everybody, and, we hope that this will pass soon. So.
Awesome. And no doubt we will be there. Steve, Chatham Shellfish Company, what do you got for us?
For closing remarks?
Yeah, just for us, the dining public. Like, what do you want us to know, and how can we best help you? I know namesakefoods.com.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Namesakefoods.com or chathamoysters.com.
Yep.
And, we're shipping oysters and mussels, little necks nationwide this week. And, we have a farm to put together that's been dormant all winter. We've got upwards of 3 million oysters that have to be grown and in the right densities and with the right husbandry techniques. And if we can't afford labor, then it's going to make that task very difficult, let alone harvesting and getting the product to where it needs to go, hopefully, so it doesn't go to waste. So any way to help product move through the farm at this point is, it helps our staff stay employed, and it helps us free up space and gear on our oyster farm to bring that next crop of oyster up to size, healthy. And I think a lot of farms are facing that right now is they've got a lot of uncertainty on where the future is going to be, what they're going to plant. So right now there's an oversupply on the market, and if farmers choose because they have to throw food away now to plant less later, then we may have a food shortage later on. So whatever way you can reach out and utilize some of the local farms to prevent that from happening, I think would be great.
That's what's to do. So it's there for the asking people. Message the show. Message anybody from the show. They're going to be glad to hear it at this point. Chef Jim, over to you. What do you want the dining public to know, and how best can we help you?
Well, for me, I think I just want the dining public to know that there are lots of people out there, lots of people like me, lots of people all over the country, and really it's not just restaurant businesses. It's every business. Everyone's taken a giant hit. And really my best suggestion is just to stay positive and optimistic, and don't do anything crazy. I think that this is a storm we're going to weather. It may take time and restraint and being creative to figure out how to do it. But as far as, things that are specific, not really. Maybe if you have a favorite restaurant, order a T-shirt from them, or, I know it's cheesy to say buy a gift certificate. Those sort of things actually do help restaurants and, organizations to just keep the money coming in. And, really, other than that, I think that people just need to keep a positive attitude, to have confidence in the strength of the American public and economy, that once we make it to the other end, to the other side of this, that things may not be like they were last year at this time, but they're going to be better than they are now.
Nice, awesome. Thanks, Jim. And finally, Chef Fraser, Neal, what do you want us to know? How best can we help you?
I think stay positive, stay healthy, stay safe. Continue to practice social distancing and cleanliness indefinitely. I think that, like Dr. Fauci said the other day, I don't know if anybody will ever be able to shake hands ever again. If we're smart and we practice well, this thing will go away. If we kind of, all of a sudden all of us want to have unprotected sex on the first day, we're going to have a lot of disease and a lot of, unwanted babies. And I think that, if we're smart about this and we, learn our lessons well and let them sit for as long as they need to sit and ease back in as opposed to spiking back in and having it be a negative.
Absolutely.
I think that's a positive.
No,
we have to be smart. We have to unite. And, one of my friends who I have a lot of respect for the other day, he said this is a really great opportunity for America to reunite as one country.
Damn.
And I think this is what I want to hear. It's like we're all we're all chefs. We're all providing whatever we're selling, oysters or cooking, fine dining, or anywhere in the middle. It's like, let's lead well. Let's lead positively. Let's lead with resilience, but let's not be stupid.
Yep.
It's like, let's learn from our lessons. This isn't like, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's all go to spring break and drink out of the same cup.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of lessons to be learned about how we live as a society and how we'll live in the future. And I think that if we can take some of that forward, as opposed to just like, all of a sudden, like there was a meme I saw, on the internet the other day. It was, Men in Black, like holding up that device.
Yeah, the mind wiper.
Coronavirus.
Yep.
And I wipe your mind, and that's the last thing that I'm going to do.
No.
We have hand sanitizing stations by every door in our restaurant now. We have 8 people working there. When we have 200 people working there or 250 people working there, hand sanitizing by the front door, all this stuff, like, it's going to become, it's not bad.
No.
It's not going to endanger our society in order to be a little more sanitary. I don't want to be crazy about it. I don't want to be a germaphobe. But can we be a little safer, a little stronger, a little more united, a little more together? Can we share information better? Can we, I have chef friends all over the country, and those are the first ones I call. I don't call the ones that have a restaurant down the street. I call the ones in Mississippi. I call the ones in New Orleans. I call the ones in Philly. I call the ones in Boston. Because I want to hear what the country is doing.
Yeah.
What are you doing better than I'm doing? How can I learn from your mistakes and from your successes?
Yep. No.
And if we can all do that together, I think that not only will this be something in our rearview mirror, but the next time this happens, we will know how to react to it better. And we won't be the ones like looking for our government to say it. We're gonna be like fucking lockdown day one.
Exactly.
We're like, fuck that shit.
Yep. Yep.
I saw that on the wall. I'm not going to be the first one in. I'm going to call all of my friends and tell them to do it too before, it's like this whole, these loans. It's like, if you wait around for the government to bail you out, by the time you're bailed out, you'll be dead.
You'll be dead. You'll be gone. Yep. Yeah.
So how do you get in front of that curve and make sure that it doesn't happen? Make sure you're proactive. And, again, collaborating with everybody, all the smart minds all over the country. We've got a lot of, the culinary world is a big wealth of really smart people in all sorts of walks of life that have all sorts of friends. I mean, you'd be surprised at the friends I have. They're not all drug dealers. Some of them are actually smart people.
And Neal, just so I have it confirmed, that whole unprotected rampant sex thing is a definite no or like a maybe?
Yeah, you broke up on that.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that whole like rampant unprotected sex, that's a definite no. Or, like, is there still a chance?
That's you got to ease in. You got to
ease in. Okay. Ease back into the ramp.
I was thinking about the best quote that I can ever think of in this kind of scenario.
Yeah.
As much as it's going to hurt my business in the short term and help in the long run is, it's Robert Duvall and Sean Penn. They're sitting on the side of the hill, and the daddy bull says to the baby bull, and the baby bull says, "Hey, let's go down there and fuck one of those cows.
Yep.
Let's run down there and fuck one of those cows." And the daddy bull says, "No, let's walk down and fuck them all."
Yep. And there it is. So that's Neal Fraser's answer to COVID right there, people. You heard it here. God damn it. I think it's the only answer
Slow
you
and
need.
steady wins the race.
As long as daddy wins the race, slow and steady. That's exactly what it's all about. So, man, gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for being here. Ready for the laundry list of plugs? Here we go. Starting local, we've got Turkey Hill Brewing Company here in Bloomsburg, PA, 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. TurkeyHillBrewing.com. We've also got Redbird.la and Vibiana.com for Chef Neal Fraser. The Hummingbird Way Oyster Bar, not now opening and taking reservations, but will be 351 George Street, Mobile, Alabama 36604, and Chatham Shellfish Company at chathamoysters.com, as well as namesakefoods.com. Go out, check out their packages, order some up. Gentlemen, an absolute honor and a privilege. I hope to do it again soon, but hopefully not under the same circumstances. That'd be awesome. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 125 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With me this evening, Andrew Nebel of Turkey Hill Brewing, Steve Wright of Chatham Shellfish Company, Chef Jim Smith of Hummingbird Way and the Alabama Seafood Marketing Commission, and Chef Neal Fraser of Redbird, Vibiana, Top Chef Masters Beefsteak, and so much more. Our producer this evening, as always, has been Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his artistic libertarian happenings and his cinematic Pig's Feet podcast. Next episode will be a very Letterkenny episode. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.